Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we, a bunch of friends, talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television stuff here and there, and we've got a whole hell of a lot of stuff to talk about here today. And we're going to get things going here with news that just broke late last night, and that's this. So now, of course, whenever you get into a discussion with people about their favorite television shows of all time, a number of shows will come up. The Wire will come up. That's one that comes up a hell of a lot, and there are others. But one of the TV shows that comes into the discussion is Breaking Bad. Now, news broke, and you're seeing these headlines all over the place this morning, if you're one of these peoples that follow a lot of the movie news sites, that Breaking Bad, the showrunner of Breaking Bad, the creator, Vince Gilligan, is working on a Breaking Bad movie as we speak, and a Breaking Bad movie is supposed to be going into production this month, in November apparently, going through and shooting through until February. Now, there are a number of things we do not know about this and that the trades are saying they don't know. Number one, would this be a made-for-TV movie or would this be a theatrical release movie? Number two, they have no idea who the cast is right now. That includes if any of the original cast are actually coming back to do this or not. And number three, really what the show is about other than a very brief tagline. Here's what we do know. This was written, I believe, in Variety, who wrote the following. Details are sparse with no information on what shape the movie would take. A prequel, like Better Call Saul, or something else, or whether any of Breaking Bad stars will return. The Albuquerque Journal includes a logline stating that the film tracks the escape of a kidnapped man and his quest for freedom. So all we know is that this is a movie that Vince Gilligan is doing himself, and it tracks the escape of a kidnapped man and his quest for freedom. Who is this kidnapped man? Is this Jesse? Is it somebody else from the show? Is it nobody from the show? Here's the thing. I think, it's fair to say that a headline, you're seeing a lot of these headlines, a Breaking Bad movie's in development. That's fair because it is tied to the Breaking Bad universe. However, and unfortunately, what we don't know right now is whether or not it actually has anything to do with Breaking Bad. There are some people speculating maybe it's a Bryan Cranston prequel thing. Maybe, but it doesn't say anything about that. Maybe it's about Jesse, maybe. Or maybe it's a completely different story, just set in the same world. Could be. So I think a lot of people right now are getting very excited at the notion of a Breaking Bad movie, but I think they're going to be very disappointed to find out that it doesn't have an awful lot to do with Breaking Bad, the TV show we know and remember. You know what I'm saying? So, but who knows? I mean, maybe Bryan Cranston and the whole gang will be back again. I don't know. But right now, it kind of looks like just another story set in the same world that maybe it'll have Saul in it. Maybe it'll have Cranston. Maybe it'll have Jesse. Maybe it'll have Gustav. I mean, maybe, or maybe none of them. And maybe that's part of the reason we haven't heard anything about that so far. So let me ask you guys this. What's your interest level in a Breaking Bad movie with a couple of potential scenarios? Number one, if it's a made-for-TV movie. Number two, if it's a theatrical movie. Do you have a preference? The number two, how much does it affect your anticipation of it if you find out that it really doesn't have anything to do with the original Breaking Bad cast and is just kind of set in the Breaking Bad world with a totally different story? Are you just as excited? Are you not as excited? I want to know what you guys have to think. Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay. With that out of the way, let's get on to our main topics today. Now, of course, our main topics are selected by you guys. How? Well, it's easy. You come up with a topic or a question, and you email me that topic or question anytime to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less, and maybe you'll see your email pop up on the John Campea Show. All right, let's get to the first email of the day. And the first email today comes to us from Brady, who writes, "Hey, John, big fan of the show. Thank you so much, Brady. What do you think Overlord will make at the box office this weekend? I've seen no marketing for the film other than trailers, and I think it will underperform. Judging by the critic reviews, I think it's bound to become a cult classic in the future. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, Overlord is now coming out. I got to tell you what, I'm excited about this movie. I have not seen this movie yet, but I'm legit excited about it. We've talked a lot about how I think the trailers make it look like a Wolfenstein 3D, the movie, which is just fine with me. That's perfectly good with me. I'm very excited for it. And you're right. It played at a couple of festivals. The reviews coming out have been very enthusiastic, saying the film is very fun. Everybody's having a good time watching it. Aces. But that's not the question. The question is, how is this movie going to do at the box office? Is anybody going to see it? Now, I'll say this. When you say, I haven't seen any marketing for it other than trailers, well, trailers are kind of the main marketing tool for a movie these days. Yes, there's still billboards, and yes, there's still all that, but the main marketing engine of a movie these days is the trailers. And I've been seeing a decent amount of trailer play. I've also been seeing a decent amount of commercials on television. Now, maybe it's just the network I watch. I watch a lot of ESPN. They're playing a lot of Overlord spots on ESPN. So there's that. Maybe they think the action of it all will kind of appeal to sports fans, which is not a bad idea. But have they really gone like super heavy on the marketing? No, but marketing is expensive, and this is like what I heard is a $38 million film to make. I think the production budget on Overlord is about $38 million bucks. So you don't exactly have $100 million laying around to market it, but I still think it's been a pretty okay marketing campaign. However, is anybody going to go see it? Well, according to the tracking numbers, no. Overlord is set to flop, and flop pretty hard regardless of the good word of mouth. Look, there are 3 major films opening on that weekend, okay? We've got The Grinch Stole Christmas, we've got The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is another one I'm very much looking forward to, and we've got Overlord. Here's where the tracking numbers are. By a mile, The Grinch is way out in front. But that shouldn't surprise any of us. It's a family film. It's a recognizable IP. It goes back generations. We got The Grinch. And I haven't liked the trailers, but I know a lot of people have, so that's great. So that's really projected right now to make about $69 to $70 million in opening weekend. Good numbers. Good numbers. Girl in the Spider's Web, not so much. I think one of the big mistakes they made with Girl in the Spider's Web was they really didn't play off the fact that it's Claire Foy. I remember I've had multiple conversations with people who had no idea that was the girl from The Queen. And The Queen was one of the world's most popular shows for a while. They really didn't play that up enough, I felt. And it felt a little bit ambiguous. And honestly, it might have been too little too late. I mean, I loved The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the North American version. I actually thought the North American version was better than the original version. I know that gets me in a lot of trouble with people sometimes, but whatever, I can deal with that. I actually thought the one with Rooney Mara and Daniel Craig was even better than the original. I loved it. How they let that movie and that potential franchise get derailed with negotiating, you can't do this, you can't do that. And this is a sequel that should have come out like 3 years ago. Minimum, should have come out 3 years ago. And it should have had the original cast. It should have had Daniel Craig. It should have had Rooney Mara. If you have to change 1 or 2 of the actors, that's fine. But this is essentially a reboot at this point. I just think they made many, many, many mistakes with this film. Now, I'm still looking forward to it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm very excited about it. I think it may be very good. I don't know that, but I'm thinking it will. But that doesn't change the fact that they made many mistakes with this film, and you can see that in the tracking numbers. It's tracking to make $12 million opening weekend. And that would be the story if it wasn't for the fact that Overlord is only tracking to make $8 million. Now, granted, Overlord was never a film that was poised to make $60 million opening weekend. Yes, but $8 million? Ouch. Ouch. That's not good. Like you, in your domestic opening weekend, you minimum would like to make about 1/3 of your production budget on your domestic opening weekend. With a production budget of about $38 million, $8 million doesn't come anywhere near that. This is a movie that is probably going to lose a lot of money for the studio. They're going to take a bath on it, which is really unfortunate when you consider that it's gotten pretty good word of mouth. People seem to be legitimately excited about it and seem to legitimately like it. I'm looking forward to it, but apparently not a lot of people are looking to run out to go see it. They're all going to go see The Grinch. So we'll have to wait and see how this one actually turns out for now. All right. With that out of the way, let's now move on to our second email of the day. And our second email today comes to us from our friend Joe Fiore, who writes, last week we got word that Shazam is undergoing reshoots. We all saw those Witcher photos, and Cavill doesn't have facial hair. Could Warner's and Cavill have finally come to an agreement on that Superman cameo? His manager did inform us that the cape was still in his closet. Well, okay. So for those of you who don't know what's going on here, what Joe is referring to is that it has been announced that Shazam has gone in for some additional photography, also known as reshoots. And that has gotten the speculation wheel spinning at a crazy pace, including, oh my God, they're doing reshoots? Holy crap, that must mean Henry Cavill's coming back. And you guys have seen those rumors online. I'm sure you have by now. There are rumors and reports that the reshoots are so Henry Cavill can come back and play Superman. All right, and I can understand to a degree why. We know for a fact, this isn't speculation, this is fact, we know at some point Warner Brothers was actually quite keen on having Superman make a cameo in Shazam. We know that didn't happen, and now we know there are reshoots. Here's the main thing we all have to keep in mind. And I'm shocked that we still have to talk about this, because it's been at least 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 or 8 years, since reshoots meant anything. Like, yes, there used to be a time when reshoots meant, oh, they need to change something drastic, or, oh, there's something terribly wrong with the movie and they've got to go and redo a bunch of things. Yes, when you heard reshoots, there was an era when that was true. But that is simply not the era we live in anymore. Reshoots are common. Reshoots today are planned in advance, and reshoots today happen on almost every big budget film. Kevin Feige himself talked about this. Remember? Kevin Feige said, yeah, look, we make our movie, but it's never until you start to edit it together that you start to get some fresh ideas, and you start to think, oh, that worked better on the page and in my head than it does here. Let's tweak this and let's tweak that. And now, Kevin Feige says, we actually book and plan and schedule reshoots before we even start shooting the movie. Because they know after they're done principal photography, they're going to come up with some ideas or come up with some things. Oh, let's tweak this, tweak that. And so they set aside a number of weeks for reshoots, and they make sure their actors are booked and available for those reshoot dates and blah, blah, blah. It is a common occurrence now. So this notion that, oh my gosh, Shazam is going in for reshoots, that must mean something significant. No, maybe 8 years ago. But them going in for reshoots now is what every big budget film does now. It's just a part now it's now just a regular part of the movie making process. Now, does that instantly negate any validity to these rumors and stories going around that Henry Cavill could be popping up now as a part of these reshoots in a Shazam movie? Okay, let's be fair for a second. Let's look at it from that point of view for just a moment. If they just wanted to add a quick cameo of Henry Cavill as Superman, yeah, something like in the form of reshoots, that's a good place to do it. Look, they're not going to change their movie at this point. But, tweak certain things, make little adjustments, add a little something here or there. And a Henry Cavill cameo as Superman totally fits into that description. So there's that. Also, if you want to believe in this rumor, there's another reason to give it some validity, which is the fact that we already mentioned that we know at one point Warner Brothers wanted a Superman appearance and cameo in Shazam. We know that. We've heard that from them themselves. So, number one, A quick cameo would easily fit into some little kind of reshoots. Number 2, we know that Warner Brothers wanted Superman to make a cameo at some point. So there's that as well. Number 3, while it seems pretty clear that Henry Cavill is done in the DCEU, it's never been officially, firmly, and finally stated. Then again, they've never officially, firmly, and finally stated that Ben Affleck is out as Batman, but we've known that for over a year already, but whatever. So, you are not crazy. You are not crazy for believing that we could still see Henry Cavill pop up as Superman in Shazam in a cameo, which would be added in these reshoots. You're not crazy. There are a couple of reasons to give at least consideration to the rumor. On top of that, I've spoken to a couple of people closely connected to the situation who have told me mixed things. One guy told me they thought there was a solid chance Cavill could appear as Superman in Shazam, but the other person told me something completely contradictory and said no chance in hell. So that doesn't really mean anything now, does it? However, is it possible that Cavill appears as Superman? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. But is it probable? No, it is not probable. You know, that's my big thing in poker. Somebody says, how could you call me there? I could have had it's possible I could have had pocket aces. And I called a guy who went all in pre-flop once. I said, yeah, but I don't deal in possibilities. I deal in probabilities. And I had ace king, which means there were only 3 aces left in the deck, which means it wasn't likely that you had pocket aces. It was possible, but I don't deal in possibilities. I deal in probabilities. And the probability was that you didn't. And I was right and I won a big hand. I've also been wrong sometimes and lost big hands, but whatever. That's the thing for another time. I believe it's highly improbable. Number one, it is pretty clear that the situation between Henry Cavill and Warner Brothers, I believe he is now done as Superman. We're not going to see him again as Superman. I don't believe that at all. It's possible, but highly unlikely at this point. Number two, getting excited at the notion because there's reshoots, that must mean they're doing Superman inclusions. No, man, this is a part of the normal movie-making process at this point. It doesn't mean anything like that. Number three, I just don't think they'll be able to sneak that in without us knowing about it. So, while I will say you're not crazy for believing it, while I will say it is not the most far-fetched thing to want to hold on to that hope, I will say, to be realistic, though, the probability is that he is not there. He's not going to be appearing in Shazam. And Shazam doesn't need him to appear. Let's also look at that for a second. Shazam doesn't need Superman to appear to be a good, fun Shazam movie. Doesn't need him. They can be, the trailer was wonderful. They can make a good, solid Shazam movie all on their own without Superman popping up. He doesn't need him in there. If this was a case of, oh my God, see, here's the thing. If this was a case of, oh my God, no one's going to go see Shazam. Oh, well, we better put in a recognizable name, put in Superman. That's just not the case. People are excited about the Shazam trailer. But here's the other thing. If it was the case that, oh my God, no one's going to go see Shazam unless we put like a big name like Superman in it, if that was the case, they wouldn't be keeping Henry Cavill's appearance as Superman in the movie a secret. If their strategy right now is, we'll get Superman in there to bump up the interest in the movie, if that were the case, they would not keep Henry Cavill's involvement in the thing a secret. They would be putting out press releases. Henry Cavill has now begun shooting his appearance in Shazam. They would be putting that out like crazy. But they're not. They had Superman in Justice League and kept that a secret, and look how that turned out. Wah, wah. Didn't work out so well for them. I believe they would not make that mistake again. If their strategy was to put Superman in this movie to increase interest and get more people buzzing about it, they wouldn't keep it a secret. They've already tried that once, and it backfired on them. So they would be promoting it. They would be talking about it. They would be hyping it, but they're not. So again, possible? Yeah, possible. Likely? No. Highly unlikely. We're not going to see Henry Cavill as Superman. Not in Shazam, and I don't think ever again, unfortunately, because he's my favorite Superman. But hey, there you go. All right. Let's move on now to the next topic. And the next email today comes to us from Sam Jewell. And Sam Jewell writes, I was wondering if you've been watching the Mayans M.C. and what are your thoughts on the show? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, a lot of people were asking me when Mayans started up if I was watching the show, and I hadn't for a couple reasons. Number one, I was busy. But the other reason is this. You guys know that Sons of Anarchy is one of my 3 all-time favorite television shows. And to be frank with you, while I was curious about Mayans, which is a spin-off of Sons of Anarchy, for those of you who didn't know, it felt like just a cheap, poor man's knockoff version of Sons of Anarchy. It did to me. And that's offensive to me as a big Sons of Anarchy fan. So, yeah, I was real busy. That's why I didn't check it out. But also there was a small part of me that's like, wasn't even interested in checking it out. Because, again, it looks just like a poor man's version of Sons of Anarchy. Well, last week, I had a little bit of time, and I actually got down to start watching Mayans M.C. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm now caught up. I believe they're up to episode 9. I'm now caught up. It is the best new show on television. And this is coming from a guy who is predisposed to dislike it. I didn't like that they were ripping off on Sons of Anarchy. I didn't like that, blah, 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 blah. I started watching this show, and I'll tell you what, I got over all those prejudices real fast. This is excellent television. Excellent television. And I'll tell you what, it is the best new show on television this year. And there's some great new shows this year. You got Haunting of Hill House. You got a few of them. This is the best new show on television. And I'll give you a couple reasons why. Number one, and this is key. One of the things I was really afraid they would do is do cheap, gimmicky, look how we're tied to Sons of Anarchy, everybody. And I was just afraid they were going to do that. Kind of like how the pathetic way that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does it with the MCU. Look, guys, we're talking about Iron Man. Look, guys, we're talking about Thor. We're in the MCU too. I was really afraid. I was convinced, not just afraid, I was convinced that this Mayan show would pull that type of BS. And you know what? It doesn't. There's a couple of very little subtle references to make it clear this is still the same world, but they do not do any big name dropping. They don't do anything like that. They don't overtly tie themselves into the original show. And when they do institute ties to the original show, it's with minor secondary characters. And it's with soft little offshoots and subtle references. And they do it that way without being overtly connected to the events of Sons of Anarchy. And I like that a lot. The second thing is this. Story, 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 story. This damn show, every single episode, is pulling out amazingly beautiful plot twists. Some shows drop plot twists like cheap gimmicks. But this has intelligent, narrative-serving plot twists all the time. And I feel like 3 times per episode I'm going, oh my God. Like I'm just freaking out about it. So story, 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 story. It's amazing. Thirdly, the pace of the show is beautiful. It's not like this rapid, oh, no, go, go, go. No, 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 no. Fast doesn't mean pace. Slow doesn't mean lack of pace. There is a cadence to this show that is beautiful. It's beat, 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 and it keeps in rhythm and it keeps on time, and you know certain things are going to happen at certain points, and it's just beautifully done. Next, characters. This show has a lineup of characters that pretty much rivals the lineup of characters that we got in Sons of Anarchy. It's incredible. Each character is so radically different and unique and comes with their own quirks and their own backstories. And it creates such an incredible tapestry for the show that it just makes it thoroughly enjoyable all the way through. But I'm going to tell you the biggest reason why this show is the best new show on television right now. And that's one of the things that caught my attention early. But it is the performance of Edward James Olmos. Admiral Adama himself from my #1 all-time favorite television series, Battlestar Galactica. He plays the main characters, 2 of the main characters' dad. He plays the dad of Easy, who you see in the picture here, and his big brother Angel. He plays their father. This guy should get an Emmy for this. He is the Mayans version of Gemma from Sons of Anarchy, except he's a great, like he's not twisted and evil and bad. Like he's a good father. He's a good guy with some dark, shady past. He's just a great character, and Edward James almost crushes every single scene he's in. Like, just, I watch him in a scene in this show, and it's just, I feel like I gotta pause the show and just soak in the performance he gives in it. He's that damn good. And on top of that, the lead character is his son, who you see in the picture here, Easy, or Ezekiel. They call him Easy. Great character. At first, one of the reasons I didn't want to watch this show is because I thought their lead character was just a knockoff of Jax. Easy is the Mayans version of Jax from Sons of Anarchy. No, he's a very different character with a very different backstory, and I really love the way they've been moderating and moving this whole thing around. Guys, if you haven't started checking out Mayans MC, watch it. And you don't even have to have watched Sons of Anarchy. You'd never have to have watched a single episode of Sons of Anarchy to watch and appreciate this. It'll help if you have, but you really don't need to. It's great. It's awesome. And yeah, guys, to me, it is simply the best new show on television for all those reasons and more. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. All right, let's move on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Eddie Marsh, who writes, "Hey, John. Next weekend is shaping up to be a good one with Fantastic Beasts 2, Widows, and Instant Family. That actually looks really good to me. What do you think will be the best movie that weekend?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Eddie. And yeah, it's a solid-looking weekend because I'll tell you what, I agree with you. I think all three of those movies look really good. I really do. I'm not the world's biggest Potter fan, but Fantastic Beasts 2 looks really good. I'm actually going to go see it tomorrow night. Here, you know what? Here, I got to tell you this story. Okay? Ready for this? So, I got invited to this special IMAX event at the IMAX head offices. They're having some special festivities for their screening of Fantastic Beasts 2. They're going to have some festivities, some food, whatever, big thing. And I only accepted the invitation because Anne is a major Potter fan, right? So I said, okay, I accepted the invitation. But Anne leaves tonight to go to the Philippines for 10 days, to go to a family wedding. So I was like, oh, crap. Well, I don't even know if I'm all that interested in watching it early. So what I did was I got on Facebook and Instagram, and I put out, say, hey, guys, I'm going to this screening. I've got a spare +1. So for any of you who we actually know each other in real life, any of you guys, if you're a huge, huge Potter fan and you want to go, hit me up. Let me know. So I get a bunch of friends hit me up. But then I got the granddaddy. So you guys know our friend Cody Miller, Olympic gold medalist, undefeated movie trivia guy. I've had him on my show before. You guys remember Cody Miller. So Cody reaches out to me. Now, he lives in Indiana. I believe that's where he trains. So Cody reaches out and he's like, dude, I will fly from Indiana to Los Angeles just to come to this screening with you. And I'm like, damn, man, I mean, I would do that for a Star Wars screening, but that's pretty high level stuff, dude. I'm like, are you sure? He goes, yep. And sure enough, he booked his flight. He's flying in tomorrow morning and he's flying out Friday morning. He's going to make that trip from Indiana to Los Angeles just to watch. Because I don't know if you guys know this. Miller is a massive Potter fan. Massive, massive Potter fan. Anyway, that's all a little side story. I just thought that was funny. That's how psychotically passionate some of these Potter fans are, that they're willing to fly across the country just to go to an early screening, which is great. But anyway, we got 3 movies opening up that weekend that all look really good to me, to be honest with you. I think Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, I think it looks great. And I'm not even a big Potter fan, and I think it looks great. Widows looks amazing. I mean, we've been buzzing about Widows ever since they first announced the movie and who the cast was going to be, right? I mean, that is a star-studded, top-to-bottom, solid cast. The trailer is great, and I think it's the only film out of these that has a Rotten Tomatoes critic rating right now, and it's got like a 96 right now. Like a 96% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment for this. Crazy good. And I'll tell you what else. This movie, Instant Family, with Rose Byrne and Mark Wahlberg. And by the way, I love Rose. I love her in all these types of movies. And Mark Wahlberg has been growing on me a lot when he's not in a Transformers movie, that is. I saw the trailer for Instant Family, and I'm like, oh my God, this looks wickedly charming. This looks so good. And I know there are some other people who saw the trailer for Instant Family and thought it looked like garbage. That's fine. All I can tell you is my experience. I watched that trailer, Instant Family, and I thought it looked really charming. Like, really charming. And I'm excited for it. So all three of them look really great. Which one of these three do I think is going to end up being the best of the bunch? Honestly, I think it's Widows. I mean, it's a little bit of a cop-out because Widows is the only one that has a critic rating out right now, and it is 96%. But to full-blood honesty here, guys, I would have said Widows even if the critic rating hadn't come out already. Widows just seems, even on paper without a trailer, like a really, really intriguing film that I've been dying to see ever since they announced it. So I'm going to go with that. I think the second best one is going to be Crimes of Grindelwald. Yes, I'm not a big Potter fan, but these trailers have astounded me. I've loved the trailers. It looks magical, no pun intended, but it does. It looks magical and whimsical. It looks like it's captured that sense of adventure that these types of movies should have as well. Playing on old mythologies while introducing new stuff. It looks like a great blend. And even though I really like the look of Instant Family, I'll put that in third place for now, but that's not a bad thing. It still looks quite good to me. So to me, I think that weekend is shaping up beautifully. I think we're going to enjoy all three of these. I don't know that for sure, obviously, but I think these all look pretty good. But yeah, my guess right now is that Widows is going to be the movie to beat. I think Widows is going to probably be the class of that weekend. So let me know what you guys think. Which one of these films do you think is going to end up being the best film? Not win at the box office, but because obviously that's going to be Fantastic Beasts. But which one of those films do you think is going to be the best film to see that weekend? I'm interested in all three of them. I think Widows would be the best one. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, let's now move on and take some live viewer questions. A bunch of you guys have been sending in some live questions already, so let's not waste any time and let's go right to it. And the first live question today comes to us from Donaldo Martinez, who writes, just watched Forrest Gump and Shawshank Redemption for the first time back-to-back. That's a hell of a double feature, dude. That's and I envy you that you got to watch those movies for the first time. Something I will never get to do again. And I agree with you. Shawshank should have won Best Picture. Oh, yeah, that's just... You know, when you say, you know, I don't think a certain movie should have won that Oscar that year, a lot of people think you're casting shade at that movie. It's like, no, Forrest Gump is wonderful. Forrest Gump is a great movie, no doubt about it. And in many other years, I would have no problem with Forrest Gump winning Best Picture at the Oscars. Many years, I would have had no problem with Forrest Gump winning Best Picture at the Oscars. The problem is, and this is why it's so difficult to win an Oscar, is that it came out the same year as Shawshank Redemption, which is not just a great film, it is one of the all-time greatest films ever made in cinematic history. Shawshank Redemption is simply one of the most special films ever put to film. Ever. Top 10 greatest film of all time. To me, no doubt. No doubt. And unfortunately, those two great films, Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump, they came out in the same year. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be mistaken, let's see. I believe that's the same year as well, if I'm not mistaken, that... Pulp Fiction came out. It might have been the same year that Pulp Fiction came out. Hold on, let me just look that up. This is worth checking out. Where's the awards? Awards. There we go. So Forrest Gump won Best Picture at the 1995 Academy Awards. And where is Best Picture? Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Director... Best Documentary Short, Best Visual Effects, Best Film Editing. Oh, sorry, guys. I should have looked this up earlier, but I didn't know this question. Here it is, Best Picture. Yeah, that was... Oh, my gosh. Listen to this lineup, okay? These were the nominees for Best Picture. This was back when only 5 films could be nominated. 4 Weddings and a Funeral, which a lot of people have forgotten about. Excellent film. Quiz Show. Amazing movie. And a lot of people have forgotten about that one. It doesn't get a lot of chatter these, but Quiz Show is amazing. Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption. 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption. That was your lineup. Those were your nominees for Best Picture that year. So, yeah, and again, Pulp Fiction is another one that could have won Best Picture in many other years. There are a lot of years at the Oscars that Pulp Fiction could have come out at and won Best Picture, but it happened to come out in a year that Shawshank Redemption also came out and that Forrest Gump also came out. And it wasn't going to beat either of those. But yeah, I agree. Like, Shawshank Redemption should have won Best Picture that year. But hey, whatever. It went to a good film. Orange Hand writes, the creator of Boardwalk Empire once said that the show's violence isn't gratuitous. But if a viewer feels that way, can we really say they're wrong? Well, yes. Because, and here's why. Gratuity speaks to motive, right? Gratuity speaks to motive. Gratuitous basically means it had no purpose to being there. It didn't need to be there. It was just put there for the sake of being there. That's what gratuitous is. So, like, if you're doing a movie scene that takes place in a Roman bathhouse, then any nudity in that scene is not gratuitous. It's kind of needed for the scene. However, you have a teen comedy where a guy walks into a living room and a girl just goes, "Oh, I'm going to take off my shirt." Boo, 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 boo. That's gratuitous. But gratuitous speaks to motive. And motive belongs to the filmmaker. So, if the showrunner of Boardwalk Empire had a particularly brutal scene, a brutally violent scene, but his motive was, I believe the brutality and violence of the scene is going to help the narrative because it's going to establish this, it's going to do this, and it's going to create this sort of a viewing experience for the audience, and it's all by design. And if it was the showrunner's intent, if that was the motive, then by definition, it's not gratuitous. Now, you as a viewer can feel it was gratuitous, but this isn't a subjective thing. It speaks to motive. And if the showrunner's motive was, I had purpose and narrative purpose for that nudity, for that violence, for that language, if there was actual narrative structural purpose, I needed to put that in there to accomplish my goal, then it's not. Then by definition, it's not gratuitous. You can feel like it was, and that's fine, but yeah, you're wrong. If the filmmaker or if the showrunner says, no, there was not gratuitous, everything I did in that show had my own specific design and my own specific purpose for it, then it's not gratuitous. So that's how I feel about it. I don't think there's any definite right or wrong answer to that. That's just kind of how I feel about it. Rami J. Royster writes, watch the remake of Suspiria, the 2018 version. I understand viewers are praising the artwork and the horror, but the film did not work for me. I'm the oddball. No, you're not alone. I haven't seen it yet either. But I'm hearing a number of people say the same thing. Beautiful, weird, twisted, but it really, as a movie, not all that good. I haven't seen it, so I can't make a direct comparison. But a movie I have seen, unfortunately, was Darren Aronofsky's Mother with Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem. That movie sucked, but it's artistic, and it's beautifully done, and it's multiple layered metaphors, and it's a film that took a real artist to make. Doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, it's just a mess of a movie. It's not a good movie. It's a piece of art, but not a good movie. And I'm kind of hearing the same kind of sentiments about Suspiria from a number of people, including you, Rami. So again, I can't speak to it because I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying I'm hearing similar things. Ben Rayner writes, will Weekly Hero be live today? No, Weekly Hero is no longer live. Weekly Hero is not a live show. There is a Weekly Hero going up tonight. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett are recording the new Weekly Hero later this afternoon at the studio, but it is not live. We don't do the show live anymore. So there you go. It will be up later tonight, but it will not be live. Ben follows it up with, don't know if you're caught up in The Gifted, but last night's episode was fantastic. I loved it. Not caught up. I've watched 2 episodes so far. I'm behind on a lot of TV. I'm behind. I'm just too busy. So, no, and I love Gifted. I love The Gifted, but I'm only up to episode 2 of this season, so not caught up yet. I'm working on it, though. Grand Drew 10 writes, have you watched Comrade Detective? You know, I haven't, and I had Joseph Gordon-Levitt himself was the first one to tell me about that show. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the first one to tell me about the show, and I still have not had a chance to watch it. Anyway, have you watched Comrade Detective? It's hilarious. Buddy cop series on Amazon. The show was filmed in Romania, then dubbed in English. Channing Tatum and Joseph Gordon-Levitt do the voices of the main characters. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it, dude. And if you haven't even heard about it, you might want to check it out. I want to check it out. But I've heard nothing but positive things about it. So, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Yours Trolley writes, have you seen new amazing Aquaman character posters? No, I haven't seen the new character posters yet, to be honest with you. Tucker Flynn writes, love the story you shared yesterday. Real men cry. Don't get me going on that. We talked a little. You know, guys know who have watched me for a long time that every year as we get close to Christmas time, I try to encourage you guys to get involved in Adopt a Family. It's one of the most special things you can do. I'm not going to go into it in depth because I'm not going to break down again like I did yesterday. Let's see. Tucker Flynn follows up with, will Deadpool release get more studios trying it? I mean, who knows? First of all, Deadpool is a very unique film. It's a very unique set of films, right? Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2 are very unique. That uniquely position them, because, you know, here's the thing. I would hear some people say, well, that movie, movie X, movie Y, didn't have a very good marketing campaign. Why can't they do something like Deadpool? Because, you know, Deadpool had one of the greatest marketing campaigns of all time. And I'd say, well, because it's a very different movie from Deadpool. Like, I don't think with movie X or movie Y, you could get away with the same kind of marketing that you did for Deadpool because of the nature of the movie. The nature of Deadpool, which is so unique, uniquely positions it to leverage certain types of marketing like they do there. I would also say that the uniqueness of Deadpool and Deadpool 2 make it uniquely appropriate for this type of a re-release with a little bit of things mixed in. I don't think you can do that with every other movie. Now, that being said, if Deadpool 12, Once Upon a Deadpool or 12 Days of Deadpool, whichever way you like to refer to it at, if that comes out and makes $40 million over 12 days, yeah, there are going to be other studios that try to figure out, is there some way we could do that with some of our movies as well? But again, I just think the nature of Deadpool lends itself to being able to do stuff like that. And I don't know that you could do stuff like this with an average movie. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, studios like to sniff around where there's money. And if this Once Upon a Deadpool makes tons of money, studios will be interested in seeing if they could replicate the formula. I just don't know they're going to have much success if they do. All right. Justin T. writes, Death of Stalin could be an Oscar contender this year. It was released in the U.S. in March. What are the chances it gets attention from the Academy? Honestly, first of all, I like The Death of Stalin very much. You got Jason Isaacs in there. I love him. Speaking of Boardwalk Empire, you got, why am I freezing on the name of the lead guy from Boardwalk Empire, who's also in it? I'm freezing on his name. Sorry, guys. I'm having a brain freeze right now. It's a great cast. It's a wonderful movie. It's really funny. It's very smart. To be honest, great movie, not top 10 of the year to me. Not top 9, not best picture material to me. I don't think March has anything to do with it. If it was truly best picture material, the Oscar voters would vote for it. I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. But that's just my opinion. But don't get me wrong, I'm not poo-pooing on the movie. I think the movie's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Best picture material? I don't think so. But who knows, guys? Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Jabin Carter writes, shout out to my friend Mick. He just accepted a position with Cinema Blend as a contributing writer. Congrats, Mick. Well, congrats. I've got a long history with Cinema Blend. I like that site a lot. I think... are they a perfect site? No, but I have, out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movie news websites and stuff like that, I've got about a dozen that I read on a regular basis, and Cinema Blend is definitely one of those sites. I have a lot of respect for the guys over there. So congrats to your friend Mick. It's a good team to get plugged into. Let's see here. Sebastian writes, have you seen Night School, The Oath, and Nobody's Fool? I haven't seen The Oath. That was with Tiffany. Well, all three of these films, I believe, have Tiffany Haddish. That one had Tiffany Haddish and the guy from Neighbors. I'm trying to remember the comedian's name. He was in Neighbors, and he was just in Cock Blocker, and he was just in, or Blockers, sorry, the name of the movie is Blockers with John Cena. I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in that with her. I didn't see that. I did see Night School. Disappointed because I'm a Kevin Hart fan and I'm a Tiffany Haddish fan. Wasn't all that thrilled with it. Did see Nobody's Fool, finally. Not all that good. It's concerning to me, too, because I think Tiffany Haddish is a comedic genius, and she is a brilliant performer. She's absolutely fearless. One of my big pleasant surprise movies the last couple of years was Girls Trip. And Tiffany Haddish was one of the big reasons that worked. Her complete, utter fearlessness on screen in her comedic performance was just so beautiful and so refreshing. I loved it. Unfortunately, I think her career is being massively mismanaged right now because I felt like she became, she was a revelation in Girls Trip. But I think her management went, oh, she's kind of hot right now. Put her in any garbage. Just put her in anything right now because she can get lots of work right now. So let's just drop her in anything. And I think that was a mistake. I think in the long run, that's going to hurt her career, which is too bad because I think if she was a little bit more selective, she could have crafted together a really impressive career. But I just don't like the way they've handled her career so far. Now, again, maybe The Oath is wonderful. Like I said, I haven't seen that one. Sebastian follows it up with, they might not play those at the AMC Burbank 16. I think they did play them all except The Oath. I don't think they played The Oath there. Damlin Munoz writes, so I took the plunge and I just applied for a creative writing in entertainment bachelor's program at Full Sail University. Good on you, Damien. A lot of people talk about that they want to do this stuff. Very few people put their money in their mouth, put their own asses on the line, step out on the wire and give it a shot. Good on you for taking a shot if that's what you want to do. Go pursue your dream, man. That's awesome. History Soup writes, Shawshank is the better film, but Gump is more uplifting. Sure, maybe. I don't know, man. The end of Shawshank Redemption is awfully uplifting. The end of that movie is awfully uplifting. Yeah, Gump is more uplifting, but I agree. There are certain things Forrest Gump does better, but there are more things Shawshank did better, in my opinion. But hey, it's film. It's all subjective. Stubble McShave writes, you keep saying Aquaman with take a big hit. No, I've never said that. I think the big loser of Hell Week will be Bumblebee. If people see one movie, it will probably be Aquaman. Well, I think you're wrong on many levels there. First of all, I've never said Aquaman is going to take a big hit. What I have said consistently is, no matter, because I've said over and over and over and over again, Aquaman's going to make money. I've said that till I'm blue in the face. I don't know how many times I can repeat it, and people wonder why I repeat myself so much because of that. Aquaman will make money. It will. It's just not going to make as much money as it would have if it changed release dates. That's it. It's going to make money. It would have made more money. It would have made more money if they had moved it earlier or even later. So yeah, it's going to take a hit, but it's still going to make money. I'm not saying Aquaman's going to be crippled. I'm not going to say, oh, it's a guaranteed flop. No, I've never said that. It's going to make money, but it would have made more. It was in the film's best interest to change release dates. And who cares what happens to Bumblebee? Who cares? I'll never understand that we as human beings, I do this too, you do it, we all do it, and I don't understand why we do this. But like, we see a fact about something and we instantly try to make the issue about something else. We're not talking about Bumblebee, we're talking about Aquaman. If Bumblebee makes $1 billion at the box office, and if Bumblebee makes $1 at the box office, it does not change what's happening to Aquaman. Aquaman is going to make less money than it would have if it opened on a different date. Well, Bumblebee, I'm not talking about Bumblebee. What does Bumblebee have to do with it? Nothing. Well, Mary Poppins, I'm not talking about Mary Poppins. I'm talking about Aquaman. It doesn't matter if Bumblebee takes a bigger hit or not. That does not change the fact that Aquaman ain't going to make as much money as it would have if it was not opening in that week. And we can say whatever we want about Bumblebee. We can say whatever we want about Mortal Engines. We can say whatever we want about Holmes and Watson. We can say whatever we want to say about Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. We can say whatever we want to say about Mary Poppins. None of that has anything to do with what's going to happen to Aquaman. Aquaman is going to do okay. But it would have done better if they had moved. And that is what I've always said. That's what I've always said. And Bumblebee is completely irrelevant to that. Mary Poppins is completely irrelevant to that. And by the way, I don't know that I agree with you. If people see one movie, it'll probably be Aquaman. I don't know that I agree with that. I personally know a hell of a lot of people that are planning to have the first movie they see that week. And if they're only going to see one movie that week, they're going to go see Mary Poppins. Now, there are people like me. I'm going to go see Aquaman first. I think you are probably going to go see Aquaman first too. But there are a hell of a lot of people that are going to go see Mary Poppins first. There are also a lot of people that are going to go see Bumblebee first. So I do not agree with this whole notion that if anybody's going to see just one movie, it's going to be Aquaman. Maybe some of the people you know, maybe some of the people I know, maybe you, maybe me. But there are going to be other people that think differently. And again, Aquaman's going to make money. It's just not going to make as much as it could have if it opened on a different date. Patrick Conway writes, after the trailers, I'm more into Bumblebee. Yeah, like I still think Aquaman was the better trailer, but that particularly the last one or two, have been really good. And I think what a lot of us keep forgetting, and we can't be overstated, Travis Knight is directing this thing. The director of Kubo and the Two Strings is directing this. This ain't Michael Bay directing this. This isn't going to be the same old Transformers movie. It's going to be different. How different? How good? I don't know, but it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same old Transformers movie. It's a new director, a new head of the ship. We'll see how he kind of does. But yeah, I'm still more into the Aquaman trailer myself. Patrick Conway writes, over under 30% we get Dumbledore versus Grindelwald this week or next week. I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean we're going to get Dumbledore versus Grindelwald next week? I don't know what you mean. Sorry, man. Grand Master writes, sing it, John. Got a little dirt on my boots. Oh, my God. I don't know who told you about that, but... Ugh. So, okay, here's the story. Last year, me, my friend Dorina, and my friend Nathan Hamill, who's Mark Hamill's son, actually. So the three of us decided to go to Vegas one weekend. And being in Vegas, one of the things you got to do is take a free limo ride and go to the local strip club. So we decided to do that. And they send this big, audacious, like stretch SUV kind of limo to come pick us up, right? And we get in, and I actually talked about this on the show yesterday. The one thing, I like almost all kinds of music except country music. I like almost all kinds of music except country music. I'm not bashing on country music. I'm just saying it's not for me. That's all. I've never been somebody to appreciate country music. Fine, whatever. We all have our stuff. And Dorina doesn't particularly like country music either. And Hamill doesn't particularly like country music either. Nathan doesn't really like all that much either, as it turns out. And we get into this limo. And the song they play, I had never heard it before. I must have told this story before for you to bring this up. And there was this kid driving the limo. And you could tell he was a country kid, which is great. He was a good, nice kid, good driver. But we get into this big, huge such limousines with neon lights and all of a sudden. And he's blaring this song that I had never heard in my life called Dirt on My Boots. Got some dirt on my boots. And that's all I remember. I can't remember any of the other lengths, but over and over and over and over again, this whole song was just dirt on my boots. And I swear to God, he repeated the song like 3 times on the drive. And ever since then, like Dorina or Nathan will just like tweet out a message, dirt on my boots. And we'll just go, shut the hell up or something like that. Right. So yeah, so that's the little story behind Dirt on My Boots. That was the story. Dylan Robbins writes, breaking news, Avengers 4 title is Avengers, a Marvel Cinematic Universe story. Why is a story becoming a trend? A la new dragon tattoo, kill it now. I don't know. I hate that. I think it started with Twilight. Didn't it start with Twilight? If I'm not mistaken, didn't they change one of the sequels to like something, a Twilight story? I might be wrong about that, but I think that's where it started. And then Star Wars, Lucasfilm made the idiotic decision to take out the anthology tag and put in a Star Wars story tag. It's like, what are we, Twilight? A Star Wars story. I've always hated that. Don't get me wrong, Rogue One is all kinds of awesome, but Rogue One is Rogue One. I will never call it Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I hate that. And then they pulled the same thing with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Girl in the Spider's Web, a Girl with the Dragon Tattoo story, or something ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know what genius came up with that. I don't know if it was the Twilight people that started or if it was around before that, but I agree with you. It annoys me, Dylan. I hate it. I wish they would get rid of it. I really do. All right. Where are we off to now? We're off to Connor Dixon, who writes, Cavill is my great as Superman, and Man of Steel is my favorite comic movie. I enjoyed DC, except Justice League. I hope Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 2 are good. Well, I mean, I agree with most of what you said there, Connor. Cavill is my favorite Superman. Man of Steel is not my all-time favorite comic book movie, but it is in my top 10, and I think it's the most underrated comic book movie of all time. I have also enjoyed all the DC films. I don't think they're all great, but I know most of them have problems, but I still enjoyed them, and I even enjoyed Justice League. But Aquaman looks solid. You got a director like James Wan in there, great. I thought the Shazam trailer was perfect for a Shazam trailer. And look, as long as Patty Jenkins is directing Wonder Woman has a good chance of being great again. It's all about the director, right? And as long as Patty Jenkins is in that director's chair, it's got a good chance of being really good again. Like, after what she did with the first one was amazing. So, look, I don't know what the future holds for the DC cinematic worlds. But I know that the immediate future right now looks pretty good. Aquaman, I think, looks great. Shazam looks solid. And Wonder Woman 2, as long as it's in Patty Jenkins' hands, it's in good hands. So, we could have... I'm not saying we will. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. But we could have our three best... Our streak of the three best 3 in a row DC movies ever. DCEU movies. Not counting the Christopher Nolan films. Those aren't DCEU. But these could be our best 3 in a row set of movies that the DCU's put out so far. So, fingers crossed. The Doctor's 13th Blu-ray writes, Hey, John, I sent you a tweet with a photo of the Infinity Gauntlet I bought the other day. Hasbro made it. Oh, that's awesome. You know, I think I might have seen it. Forgive me, dude. I get a lot of tweets. But I believe I remember the one you're talking about. And yes, Hasbro does make a pretty damn good Infinity Gauntlet. They really do. Is it the one that you can put your hands in and it's got the triggers for the fingers, and when you do, the stones light up and it makes the sounds? If that's the case, that's the same one I have. And I like that one a lot. So if you got it, that's good. Enjoy it. I still enjoy it. I've had it for, 6 months now, and I just love it still. Just still completely love it. Damian Munoz writes, Super excited for the Lion King live action film. Are you also wondering why they brought back James Earl Jones but not Jeremy Irons? Thoughts? For a billion different reasons. Look, just because they brought James Earl Jones back doesn't mean you need to bring back Jeremy Irons. Well, why didn't you do this? Because we didn't. Like, here's the thing, Damien. To ask why didn't they means that's what they should have done. To ask why didn't you bring back Jeremy Irons, what you're implying is they should have brought back Jeremy Irons, and that's just not the case. Would I have been perfectly great if they had brought back Jeremy Irons? Sure, I love Jeremy Irons. Good Lord, name that movie. I love Jeremy Irons, and it would have been great if he did. But just because you brought back one guy does not mean what you now should do is bring back other original casts as well. I don't think that's the case. And like I said, I think the question implies that that's what they should have done. So now there needs to be an explanation as to why you didn't do that. Nah, it's a reboot and they did it. Just because they made an exception for one character doesn't mean they should have done it with other characters as well. Because if you did that, then you got to ask, well, then why didn't they bring back Matthew Broderick? Well, why didn't they bring back Rowan Atkinson to voice Zazu? Well, why didn't they bring back this? And why, Just because they did one does not mean it now becomes a necessity to do it for all the others. This is a new incarnation. I would have even been good if they didn't bring back James Earl Jones, because this is a new story. But they decided to make him that one anchor to the nostalgia of the original animated film and put him in there. Great! But that didn't automatically then necessitate that they needed to do it with everybody else. So why didn't they bring back Jeremy Irons? Because there was no need to bring back. There was no reason why they should have. It's just that simple. Why didn't they? Because they didn't. There was no need that they should have. It's really just that simple. But I am super stoked for this movie. And you're right to put live action in quotes, because it's not really live action. So you seem to obviously realize that as well. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked for this movie. Cannot wait. Honestly, Lion King is my all-time favorite animated film. All-time favorite animated film. So yeah, I'm stoked for this. Shane Canavan writes, I'm happy to see Carrie as Leia again, but are you concerned Leia's episode 9 role may feel forced and disconnected from the rest of the film? Might it limit the story? No, I'm not worried about that at all. If that was going to be the case, they simply wouldn't put her in. Or they would have recast. I still think they should have recast Leia, to be honest. But I'm okay with what they're doing here. No, I'm not worried about it at all. I think if there's any way they use the footage of Leia that starts to feel forced and unnatural to the story, they'll take it out. Yeah. On that level, I've got a lot of trust in J.J. Abrams from that point of view. If it feels forced or disconnected, all that kind of stuff, they just won't use it. They'll use the stuff that does fit in, and that's the way they'll do it. So no, honestly, Shane, I could totally see why you'd ask, but they're not you and me, right? They're not amateur filmmakers. They know what they're doing, and I trust that they'll do it the right way. Stubble McShave writes, the big reason for Superman to appear in Shazam is to explain why Superman will be absent for a while until he's recast and joins the franchise against New Doctor. Now, I disagree with that, Stubble, because now you're making it about Superman. This isn't Superman's movie. This is Shazam's movie. We need Superman in a Shazam movie to explain something about Superman. That's the wrong reasons, dude. That's the totally wrong reasons. You put Superman in a Shazam movie if it's something important to the Shazam movie. If it's something important to the Shazam narrative. If having Superman pop up in it can further the narrative of the Shazam thing, then you do it. You don't start like, oh, let's start serving other purposes with our Shazam movie. Let's put in Superman to explain what's going on with Superman. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. If you're not putting in a cameo or you're not putting in an appearance to further the story of that movie, and you've got other reasons for doing it, then what happens, Stubble, is you're getting into the situation that Shane Caravan was just talking about. It's going to feel forced, it's going to feel disconnected from the rest of the film, and it's going to feel out of place. Hello, Shazam! Oh my gosh, you're Superman! Yes, it is I, Superman. What are you doing here, Superman? Well, I just thought since I'm about to leave Earth for a few years to go and search for something somewhere, that I should come by and say hello. Well, thank you for coming to say hello, Superman. Well, that's all I came here to do. Farewell, Earth's mightiest mortal. Fly away. Like, that would be exactly what Shane was just talking about. It would be forced. It would be disconnected from the rest of the film. It would be disjointed, and it would be jarring, and it would be distracting. Everything you put into a movie should be there to serve that movie. The moment you start throwing like little shtick stuff like that in, that's when it becomes distracting. That's when it becomes forced and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Stubble. I think if that was their motivation for putting Superman in the movie, then you definitely got to cut it out. Because now you're sacrificing the quality of the movie just to serve some secondary thing that's not even connected to this movie. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's just how I feel about it at any rate. Blake Carson writes, let's see. Where did Blake Carson go? Blake Carson writes, Superman can be a jobber for Shazam now too. Yeah, why not? You got Superman jobbing for Supergirl. Why not bring him into Shazam just to let Shazam beat him up? That's how much respect Warner Brothers seems to have for Superman right now. Good point, Blake. Sebastian writes, Shazam is the most anticipated for my 12-year-old girl. Dude, there are 55-year-old men out there that's their most anticipated. I think this Shazam movie looks like a lot of fun. I really do. And you know, there's a lot of ways they could have done Shazam that would have made it go sideways. We're already past 10 o'clock. Sorry. But I thought that trailer was perfect for a Shazam trailer. I really did. They gave it a little bit of Tom Hanks' big feel, while a little bit of the modern superhero adventure feel, all that kind of stuff. It just was perfect for that particular movie. You know what I mean? So I'm glad she's looking forward to it. I know I'm looking forward to it too. All right. Final question of the day. Warrington Trainspotter 2778 writes, I hope we get to see more of Kelly Marie Tran as Rose in episode 9. Oh, I'm sure we will. I know we will. I know we will. But here's the thing. I like Kelly Marie Tran very much. I told you guys a story about when me and Ann met her. Ann only wanted to go to the premiere of episode 8 because she wanted to meet Kelly Marie Tran. And Kelly Marie Tran was so nice and so gracious. She ran over to Ann, gave Ann a big hug, and then took Ann with her around to something. Like, she was just such a nice, legitimately awesome person to be around, right? But I'll say this. I like The Last Jedi. Everybody knows that. But everybody also knows I had some issues with the film. And the way they handled the Rose, Boyega, Benicio story, I thought that all was mishandled. I really do. Including the stupid Casino Planet stuff and all that. I had big problems with the way they managed that stuff. Now, obviously, I love John Boyega in these movies. I just didn't like what they had him doing in episode 8. I really like Kelly Marie Tran, and I like this character, but I did not like what they had them doing. I thought they were kind of wasted. So I hope to see more of her too, but only if you're going to give her better stuff to do. Only if you give her a better story to be involved in. That's when I'm going to be looking forward to seeing her more in that. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Listen, guys, some of you may have noticed who are subscribers. Look, I'm going to tell you a little story here. So you guys noticed that this week we have not been doing the show from my studio. We've been having audio issues. We've never gotten the quality of audio that I believe you guys deserve to have from my show. So we decided to take a couple of days off from the studio and just work on the audio issues in the studio, on top of a couple other things in the studio, just to fine-tune some things. And yesterday was one of those days, so we spent the afternoon doing a lot of audio testing. And fact-checker Jonathan, I'm going to throw him under the bus, fact-checker Jonathan accidentally had one of our streaming audio tests set to public instead of to private. So, and I didn't even know for a couple of hours. So for a couple of hours, one of the videos on my YouTube channels last night was me going, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like doing that. And a bunch of you guys made a lot of jokes about it, and that was funny. But we think we're getting close. So we are hoping, fingers crossed, we're going to do some more testing this afternoon. And I think the John Campea Show is finally going to be back in the studio tomorrow, which I cannot wait to get back in the studio. So I just want to let you guys know about that. Hey, listen, guys, also, by the way, if you enjoy watching my show, if you enjoy hanging out here and being a part of the movie fan community, do me a favor. Head on over to www.patreon.com/JohnCampea. Find out everything about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps the show on the air, and even a couple of little perks that are involved in being a Patreon supporter. And maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. And if you do, that's awesome. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I'm just honored that you're here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, don't forget, later this afternoon, like probably be later tonight, to be honest with you, a new episode of The Weekly Hero with me and Robert Meyer Burnett goes online. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.